Welcome to the Wisdom Journey podcast, the show that digs into the playbooks of top creators and uncovers the strategies, struggles, and breakthroughs that fuel real growth. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and every episode we bring you actionable insights from makers, thinkers, and innovators so you can level up your own creative work, whether you're blogging, podcasting, or building your brand online. Today's guest is Charles Fernandez, a two-time Olympic modern pentathlete, turned high-performance coach and founder of Impactor. Charles went from the world stage to guiding driven individuals through burnout, identity loss, and reinvention. He combines elite training mindsets with deep personal growth practices, perfect for content creators looking to sustain creativity, avoid burnout, and build a purpose-driven brand. Get ready for a no-fluff of conversations on transforming passion into lasting impact. One of the questions that is popping up in my head over and over again is the idea that how do we know if we're encountering or feeling growth pain or we're having the burnout pain?
Could you repeat that question again? How do we know if we have?
How do we know if the pain we're having, right, the struggle we're having is that of growth, or the pain or the struggle we're having is that of burnout, or something else?
Absolutely. I do think that every pain to a certain extent is tolerable, but I do believe that it should never become or come at the expense of yourself. And what I mean by that is understanding that when you feel good pain, you can tolerate it. You can maybe sometimes stay up late. You can maybe sometimes wake up super early in the morning and work your normal job, so then you can later then go on and do and work for your dreams later on throughout the day. It's painful, but it's still possible. But when you start feeling and experiencing things that come to the own detriment of yourself, you start taking away from those things that uniquely make you more present, uniquely make you more powerful, uniquely make you more able to do the things that that feel most alive to you, being the person that you want to be, chasing the dreams that you want to do. If you're doing too much and running yourself thin, sometimes that pain, it might not be so much of a physical pain, but an emotional pain. I can always say that physical pain is fleeting, but emotional pain is lasting. And that's something that we always have to check in with ourselves and understand the difference between, okay, this is painful, but it's worth it, versus this is painful and I'm becoming somebody else, or I'm hurting somebody, or I'm hurting myself. And being able to understand that balance and have that constant check-in with yourself will allow you to really gauge the right tone for the amount of effort that you're doing to give yourself to whatever it is that you're pursuing.
Yeah. I want us to look at what it means to have the mindset of a champion creator. What does that like? Hey, it's Wisdom here. I just want to let you know that over the course of the episode, you'll be hearing the voice of the guest. And this is because my recording software recorded the guest, but did not record me asking the questions. And so I would release the episode because it's just so valuable that I just couldn't afford to just drop it. And so the guest, we had an amazing conversation, and I don't know why that happened. Yeah, just a heads up so you don't start wondering what's going on here.
No, there is a mindset, and that's definitely not being made up. I believe that we as humans, as people, we're meant to create. We're creative human beings. We're not robots. We have a soul. We have a mind. We have a heart. And all those things are things. We have feelings. We have senses. All of those things are meant to create. And that's the beautiful thing about us as humans that differ us from, let's say, nature's animals or other living things on this earth, is that we have the ability to uniquely take control of who we are and make beautiful things out of it. Sometimes we make good things, sometimes we make bad things, but I do believe that there is an intrinsic value within inside of us that is meant to create. So when you understand that baseline, when you understand that you're made to create, when you understand that you're made to do something bigger than what you think is possible, then you start entering into the moment of being like, what is that thing am I supposed to create? Am I supposed to create something that makes me passionate? Should I create something that is going to fit with everybody else? There has to be a balance between you expressing who you are to your true self versus doing something just because it's the popular thing to do. I do think there's beauty in being unique. There's beauty in being able to bring something to the table that people might not ever experience before. And again, we as humans are all uniquely made. I'm not made in your image. You're not made in my image. You have something to bring to the table for me. I have something to bring to the table for you. If I try to be you and create what you're creating, that's not authentic to me. And so when you take a look at that, when you take a look at that basis of understanding and that basis of and that foundation that you build whatever content, whatever dream, whatever goal that you have, being uniquely yourself, you tap into the power, you tap into the motivation that can only come inside of you when you're in alignment with that. And that applies to all areas of life, that alignment, that integrity. But for creators, just to understand that we're meant to create is beautiful. So what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with what you have at hand? And that's the beauty of everything. When you're most authentic to yourself, that's the number one thing that people are going to be drawn to. People might be drawn to maybe the most popular thing on Instagram, maybe the most popular video, maybe the most popular product. But what will last forever is you and who you are and the legacy that you live. And when you're able to create something beautiful based upon that identity, I just don't see where you can go wrong with that, because that aligns with everything that you might be called to do in this life. And if you are a creator, then do something that makes you feel passionate for you, not because of for other people. So authenticity attracts, it doesn't chase. I think that's a big realization for me. Authenticity attracts. It attracts the right people to be around you. It attracts the right things to line themselves up for you. Not everything's going to work out your way, but that also doesn't mean that if I'm being my authentic self, but I'm chasing something that's not me, that's not being authentic, right? That's being wishy-washy. And that's something that's very, very difficult to attain, because then the next word comes in it and it's called integrity, right? What do you base your life on? What values, what principles, what foundations? And how do you defend that? How do you respect others if you might not even agree with them? That's all those things go into authenticity. And I say all these things because you asked me before, what's the mindset of a champion? And I do think that the mindset of a champion is someone who, regardless of what other people think around them, in all due respect, regardless of what other people do around them, they're people who believe in themselves without doubt. And someone who believes in themselves without doubt while respecting people around them is somebody who is able to transcend on any level of creativity, of business, school, education, sports. And when I say respect, that means the fundamental principle of being able to treat others how you would like to be treated yourself. And that is a champion's mindset. I was created to run. I was created to do sports. I wasn't somebody who was forced to be like, hey, this is the right way to go. You're going to be more successful here. No, this was just a journey, and it so happened to express itself through sports. And through that expression, I was able to be myself and be good at it, because I don't think you be the best at anything if you weren't passionate about it. If you're the best at something and you're not passionate about it, I mean, this might cause a little bit of controversy, but if you're the best at something but you're not passionate about it, it's because you either did something to cut corners, or you ran over somebody, or you ran over something, or you took a shortcut to get there. And I do think that when people are doing hard things, they have to realize it's hard for a reason, and it's never going to be easy. And so to be authentic, to live in integrity, to be honest, to be respectful, to live a life that is led by values that everybody wants to adhere by, that's hard. That's hard. That's painful sometimes. But as long as you love the person that you're becoming, that aligns with who you believe you are to yourself and not to other people, that's a pain worth chasing. Yeah, or the five. Um, um, Yeah, no, that's a good question. My dad used to do modern pentathlon. He was one of the first athletes in Guatemala to do this sport. He used sport to get out of the streets. He was somebody who grew up in poverty. He was somebody who grew up in a tough environment, a tough household. And it was sports that helped him stay off the streets. It was sports that helped him regain a hope in life. It was sports that helped him really transcend in his journey. Now you ask, well, how did he get in? Why did he get into sports? And that's a story that he can tell. But for me, it just so happened that I was somebody who inherited his genes. Clearly, I'm his son, and and just just by expressing myself in the most natural ways possible. I loved running. I grew up in the mountains. I loved being active. I did everything and anything that anybody could imagine when it comes to sports. But it just happened that one day he took me to the federation, and he went to go visit his old teammates and old coaches. And I was there as a young kid, and the coach came up to me and said, "Charles, would you like to try modern pentathlon?" And at that time, I was running a little bit. I was doing a little bit of triathlon, but pentathlon, like I said, I was doing everything and anything. So 5 sports was like, okay, I'm used to doing that. But just being able to get in that world was. I can say it wasn't really difficult. Again, it was just more of the sense that I was a kid who had a lot of energy. I was a kid who was always active in everything that I did, and just to be able to express myself not just through one sport but 5 sports, physically. Not just physically, but also technically and emotionally. There's so much that goes into doing 5 sports that really, I guess, kept me busy. And with all that being said, I'll just sit here and say it was a God thing that I was able to express my best self by doing what I love the most, which was really giving all of me, not just to myself and not just to the sport, but to the people around me. Being able to live with a sense, with a purpose, with a passion, not just for myself, but for my country. It all aligned with who I was. It just so happened, some people say life, some people say universe, I say God. But it so happened that God placed that in my life, and it was a sign of saying, well, Charles, you have an opportunity. Do you want to take it or not? I believe we have the option to do whatever we want in this life. We live a life of free will, but I do believe there are certain opportunities and certain circumstances that do align with the way that we think, with the way that we speak, with the way that we feel, that end up coming true. And there's so much power in what you say and what you practice every day. Because believe it or not, it's going to attract whatever it is that you're looking for. And that is an important mindset to have, because when you're looking for the right thing, when you're looking for the things that make you feel most alive, you'll eventually run into them. And when you do, you have the decision to either take the opportunity, take the photograph, create the content, and give all of yourself to it. It's so important to give yourself, give all of yourself to something that you believe in. I believe that's how somebody lives a very purposeful and exciting life. No, and that's exactly it. You never know what can happen if you never start. And a lot of people will interpret that as facing your fears. A lot of people interpret that as taking risks. A lot of people will interpret that and being like, take the opportunity. And I do believe that the thing that's going to make you feel the most passionate and the most aligned to yourself is normally not going to be the first thing that comes up to mind. And that's the beauty of being able to be forward thinking. A lot of people use this phrase growth mindset. A lot of people use the phrase growth mindset, but to really implement a growth mindset is extremely important. And why is it important? Because it allows you to always be forward in your thinking, be forward in your goals, be forward in improving your technique, be forward in improving your content, always looking for those little things that are going to make the difference. That's the difference of being a professional athlete and a normal athlete. Somebody who just practices sport for health versus somebody who's perfected their art. It's not about the big things. It's always about the little things. And so for us to always have that mindset and forward thinking is always being like, regardless of today in your mind might not be a big deal. Maybe the content that you create is almost, nothing special. It could be special if you were to think about, how could I make this better? Or how can I improve this just a little bit? Now, there is the other side of things, perfectionism. That kills everyone. It kills me. It's killed me. It's been killing me, right? And perfectionism is a tough standard to hold someone's self to. And I'm personally living that right now in retirement, trying to figure that out, right? Yeah, somebody doing something the perfect way is understanding that they aren't comparing themselves to anybody else, but themselves of who they were in the past. Meaning, you might not be the best chef in the world, but are you a little bit better than yesterday? And that little bit better might not have to be the world's difference in being like, this is I need to reinvent myself and become a better person tomorrow. No, what I'm saying is, did you take that one little step, even if it was 0.01% better than it was yesterday? Can you ask yourself that question before you go to bed and say, am I better than I was yesterday? And if you can answer that and say yes, beautiful. Go out there tomorrow. Do it again. Maybe tomorrow you're going to get a lucky break. Be 1% better, 2% better. But sometimes there's those days where it's just like, no, I'm not proud of myself. I procrastinated today. I was a little bit lazy. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And in that conversation comes grace, right? In that conversation comes not the voice inside your head getting mad at you and reprimanding you and telling you you're not good enough, or you suck and you're a failure because you didn't do that. No, it's a voice that is your inner, I would say almost like your inner angel, or that inner person that motivates you to be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe you failed, or maybe you made a mistake, or maybe you didn't achieve the results that you were trying to achieve. But it's okay. Tomorrow you have another day to do that. And so when you reframe that, you live your life in grace, not acceptance, because you can live in acceptance, but at the same time, it's not accepting the mistake and be like, it's fine. Tomorrow's another day. But it's also understanding being like, we're humans and we're not perfect. And when you get to that mentality and you show up every day with that mentality, I trust you, that will lead you to the goal and to the objective that you're ultimately searching for. Because if you're looking for a perfect day, you won't get there because nobody's perfect. But if you don't have grace on yourself, you're never going to get there, because at the end of the day, it only comes down to you to do what's responsible and what needs to be done in order to make your dreams come true. No one else is going to do the work for you. Yeah, it is real. And it's real because not everything is going to be motivating. Not everything is going to be satisfying. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation doesn't win medals. It just doesn't. That's a famous quote. Motivation doesn't win medals. Discipline and consistency does. And some days you're not going to be motivated. And that is the reality. Just because you're living your passion, just because you're living your dream, doesn't necessarily mean that every single day you're going to be fired up about it. And so what do you do in that? What do you do in that position? Well, you have to attach yourself to your purpose, and you have to attach yourself to your meaning. Purpose. What am I doing this for? And why am I doing this for? Right? What am I doing this for? Am I doing this for because I want a better future? Because I want to provide for my family. I want to prove myself better than I was yesterday, today. And when you attach yourself to that meaning, you have to ground yourself. You have to anchor yourself to that feeling. Because once you anchor yourself to that feeling, then it might not be motivation that comes in and says, okay, we got this. But it'll be like, It will be in that intrinsic feeling and saying, no, I got to show up today. Today I have to show up. I do not want to show up. But at least if I show up, maybe I don't have to show up at 100% today, because not everything is 100%. I would say the best athletes in the world don't ever train at 100%. They train about 80%. So they're 80% consistent. And so if you have 100% of the work to be done, let's say all the training, and you have all the metrics, you have all the times that you need to meet, I would say over a long period of time, you're normally going to be an Olympic athlete and some of the best in the world if you do 80% of the work. Now, I'm not saying that 80% is suffice. I'm just saying you're going to get to that level. So even if you don't make your agenda, even if you don't meet your daily goal or your daily objective, you also have to look back and say, well, how much of my daily objective did I meet? Is it 40%? Is it 50%? Is it 80%? And be like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't 100%, but maybe tomorrow will be 90%. But if you don't show up tomorrow, the 90% will never come. And so that's where the discipline comes in. But there's the only way that you can show up every single day to perfect your craft is if you believe what you believe in. If you believe in the things that you want to make happen for whatever reason you attach themselves to. And those reasons should be reasons that move you as a human, that moves you as a person. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be recognized. It's nice to have the followers and have the money and have the status. But I'm telling you, that's fleeting, and it's not a strong enough purpose to be the best at what you do if you really want to pursue that or pursue your passion. You really have to dig deep in there and be like, what moves me as a human? What moves me to be better every single day, even though tomorrow might not be a good day? And what's going to allow me to show up the following day. So yeah, it does exist, but being able to reframe your mind is a really important task and a really important tool to be like, yeah, I mean, I this sucks, but I'm going to show up and we'll see what happens. And sometimes it turns out better than you thought. Yeah. High performance is being able to operate at the best of your ability with who you are as a person and with what you have at hand today. It's not about it's not about what you want to have. It's about what you have and what are you going to do about it. And the mindset behind that is understanding that performance is always going to be something that somebody is going to strive for, being better. And sometimes people attach performance to being the best of the best. I'm only going to be able to do performance if I'm the best. No, the performance day, performance starts when it really matters behind the scenes. And because when people, I'm telling you, when people are in the spotlight, when people reach the top, I'm telling you it's performance, but it's not their performance wasn't perfected there. Their performance was perfected down here when nobody believed in them, when nobody saw them, when they had this big audacious dream and nobody said, I believe in you. But when you're able to reframe your mind into being able to believe the tools and the person and who you are, and being able to use the tools that you have now and being able to be like, what can I do best to optimize this now, today, for tomorrow? That mindset, being able to get into there is what performance is. And so I help people identify those traits. I help people identify the tools that they have today in order for them to become better tomorrow. I'm not doing performance for them. They're doing it for themselves. But what I'm able to bring to the table is a spotlight into helping them understand that they have the ability to do great things, because we all do. So a high performer content creator is somebody who is able to optimize their time and their resources in the most effective way possible. Clearly, we have AI now. We have all these online free tools that help us create all these things that might edit our videos for us, that might help us with the audio, that might help us with the pictures, that might help us with ideas, with captions. I mean, let's put a pause on captions. Yes, you can have AI write your captions for you. You can go online and have somebody write your captions for you. But let's go back to what I was talking to at the beginning. Is that you? Is that your most authentic self? Are you able to express your art and your craft in a way that resonates with you? Doesn't resonate with other people, resonates with you. Because there's so many things, there's so many distractions that will be made in order to please other people. But I personally believe in this age and time, the most important thing that people should really take a look at is who they're becoming as people for them and not for others. And I don't say that in a selfish manner. I say that in a manner of being like, okay, once I understand the journey that I'm on, what I want to do and what I want to create, use the tools and use the resources at your hand to complement your creation, to complement your content. Don't use your content to complement other people. And because if your content copies somebody else's, if your content copies somebody else's post, you're complimenting their post. Their post is not complimenting yours. And so with that mindset, you're able to be like, okay, how can I make this most uniquely mine? Now, of course, we're always going to get ideas from other people. We're going to get inspirations from other people. But let's try to take a look at that and be like, well, how can I make this more me while maybe using that tool or maybe using this resource, and then tying that together to create something where you can take a look at that and be like, I love this. This is me. And this is for, because when people see that, and that's what I'm saying, authenticity, when people see that, they're drawn to people who believe in themselves more than people who are chasing other ideas or other trends just because they want to get a quick like, or I don't know, a quick recognition. And that's the hard part about creators. Creators have a tough reality when it comes to being like, do I want to follow the trend, or like you, do I want to show up every single day and create something for myself that I don't know if I'm going to have an Olympic athlete on my podcast tomorrow, or I don't know if I'm going to have somebody else on my podcast tomorrow, but you're showing up every single day to create something that resonates with you in order for you to tell your story and complement other people's stories in the direction that you want to create for yourself. That takes time. That takes effort. That takes a lot of energy. But when you're constant in that, you never know what's going to show up. You never know what's going to go behind your door. And so that you never know what's going to be behind that door. And so when I say the tools and the resources, there's so many out there, but have that complement your work, have that complement your art. Don't go out there and be like, oh, I'm going to have ChatGPT or some AI model create the caption for me and I'm going, no, like maybe have it complement it and work with it, but don't get lazy with it. Dig deeper into something that's going to be able to reflect who you are as a person and what you want to create for yourself. And I'm telling you, if you do it enough times, with enough repetitions, with enough discipline and consistency, the results will start showing up. I remember I trained for 5 years before my biggest event that made me an Olympic athlete. 5 years, no results, no nothing, just constant discipline every single day, waking up at 4 a.m. and finishing my days at 5-6 p.m. I was studying at the time. I was trying to be one of the best that I could be athletes, not knowing if I was ever going to make it. And it was from one day to another that I became an Olympic athlete. It wasn't a promise being like, hey, if you stick with this, we're going to give you the Olympic pass. It was, you're training 5 years and you don't know if tomorrow is the day that you become an Olympic athlete. And I do think that speaks a lot for the consistency and it speaks a lot for the discipline that is needed and the belief in oneself that is needed to create something that's worthwhile pursuing. Because once you get to that point, you then start believing in yourself in a way that everything just becomes easier. And now I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy once you reach your goal, but I will say that things do become easier because you realize it's possible, and that's a beautiful realization. But not many people get to that point because they give up too early. You're doing that right now. Ask questions. Sit down, ask questions. It's easy to do that in a podcast, but I would ask you, I mean, in your podcast and your journey, have you ever sat down and asked questions? What tools can I use? How can I better my approach to other people? How can I get people on my podcast? I'm sure you've asked yourself that question, right? And so when you ask the right questions, not how am I going to get rich quicker or how am I going to get famous quicker? It's saying, what can I do today? Or who can I ask? What can I do that's going to help me reach a certain goal, a certain objective? And if that aligns, if that aligns with what you feel inside here, in your soul, in your heart, you'll be able to find the right answer. But unless you ask those questions, no answer is going to come to you, right? You're looking for an answer, but are you asking the right question? And that is where those two things go hand in hand, where instead of hitting the ground running at 1,000 miles an hour and you're not knowing what you're going to do and trying to figure it all out, but you're not asking the right questions, then you don't know what decision to take. And so that's exactly what you did just right now. You were asking your questions. What can I do? How can I do this? What tools? And once you have the question, go find the answer. It's all about trial and error. Like we said, if you don't try it, how are you going to know you're going to be good at it? And so once you find that one thing that works for you, maybe I just don't know for you personally, but if I were to ask you, like, if there's one thing that works best for you and you're like, okay, this is working for me. Like, this is actually producing results. Okay, growth mindset, forward mindset. What can I do to make this better? How can I optimize this? How can I change my wording? How can I make this experience better than yesterday? That's performance. But the biggest thing in performance, once you start getting to really, really high levels, is accountability. And accountability is sometimes a word that people are scared of because they feel like accountability is somebody on top of them telling them what to do and scorning them if they don't do it. But if we're able to change the culture in the word of accountability and reframe our minds when it comes to accountability, we'll be able to understand that anything that holds us accountable is only wanting us to achieve the best version of ourselves with what we're doing. And me as a performance coach, I'm just an accountability coach that is able to identify key performing indicators to optimize performance within people's mindset and habits at a very high level. But let's talk about friends. What are your friends good people to hold you accountable? Are your friends people, or the people that you surround yourself with, people who you respect and you look up to when it comes to being who you want to be? I mean, those are indirect accountability partners that will either determine if you go towards the direction that you want to go to or veer away from that. But accountability is a big factor into performance. That's why coaches exist. To put this example, you have Michael Phelps, the best decorated swimmer in the history of the Olympics. He has more gold medals. He has more gold medals than the country of Spain in their history of participation in the Olympics. So you take Michael Phelps and you ask yourself, why does he need a coach? He's the best. Well, he still needs somebody to hold him accountable when he doesn't want to do it. He still needs somebody behind his back that's going to be able to motivate him and tell him, Michael, believe in yourself. He's the best of the best. Why does he need anybody? Well, that's because we are human. Michael Phelps is human. Well, kind of. He's now superhuman. But but he's somebody who has a coach. And so it's so important to understand that doing things alone is not the answer either. And so surround yourself with people who motivate you to be better. Surround yourself with people who motivate you to become the best version of yourself. First, be that person that you're happy with before you go and do something that you think will make you happy if you achieve it. So if you're happy with yourself first, if you're happy with who you're becoming, and the people around you supporting you and the people around you are applauding you for who you are, not what you do, then maybe your next step is being able to be like, okay, I have the character, I have the integrity, I have the discipline. Maybe go out and search for a friend to build something with that you're on the same mindset with, collaborate with, partner with. That's what we're doing now. And really, really important, because when you have that, you're able to grow. One of the coolest quotes I've heard is, if you want to go faster, go alone. But if you want to go farther, go together. And I don't think in the world that we're living right now, it should never be about the short game. I think it should be about the long game. The long game takes patience. So you might as well ride that long game with good people who support you and believe in you for who you are and not what you do. Well, it depends on what you want the answer to be. And so the answer is not necessarily about today, but about what you're working towards, right? I'll ask you, what is your dream? What is your goal? Do you have a dream? Do you have a goal? What are you aiming towards? Are you doing this for fun? And so when you solidify that vision, and I think that's the beauty of being able to have a dream that's worthwhile chasing. If it isn't big enough, if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. And so if you have that dream and you have that goal, even if you feel like that's almost impossible, at least you know that that's the answer that you want your equation to be. The equation is your life. The equation is the journey. And when you're able to take a look at your life and your journey as an equation, and the answer is this dream, is this passion that burns within inside of you that you want to see. I don't know. Anybody could be like, I want to see a better country. I want to provide more for my family. I want to have a family. I want to be better than yesterday. I want to do some pretty big and audacious things. Once that North Star is set, then that's when you can start asking yourself the questions. Okay, I input this question and it gives me this answer. Does this answer align with what I'm trying to achieve and look for? Yes or no? Yes. Perfect. Next step. How can I be better? Okay. Optimize that. Systemize that. Systems. Until one day you reach a point where it doesn't work. Don't butt your head on that wall and be like, "Oh, I need to make this work. I need to live in pain." We talked about pain. No, that's bad pain. But then when that bad pain comes, when you start becoming somebody who you don't like to be, when you start misaligning yourself with the integrity of who you are and who you want to be and who you want to become, you have to ask yourself the question, well, okay, is this getting me closer to that goal? And if you say no, then you have to take a step back. And that's the beauty of growth. It's not linear. Growth is not linear. Growth is those ups and downs. And that's what a lot of people have to understand. When you conceptualize success, when you conceptualize this journey into fulfillment, you have to understand the basis of what that journey consists of. It's not straight up. It's going to have its ups and downs. So when it goes down, don't be surprised. Just recognize it and be like, no, this is part of it. This part hurts and this might not go my way, but it's part of it. But what can I do to ask a question and be like, okay, well, is what I'm doing working or not working? If it's not working, ask another question. What can I do to get better? And don't jump at the first thing that comes to you. Look at your options. Be patient with yourself. We are not machines. We are humans. And so with all these tools, don't just jump on these tools and just do something just to do it because it makes sense to society. If it doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about the man that is next to you being successful. You'll get there, but you'll only get there in a sustainable manner if you're true to yourself. And so that's where it's so important to have that direction. And for your listeners, even for you, even for me today, to be very honest with you, it's trying to understand what am I here for? What am I working for? Why did I start this podcast? And if you don't have that answer, or maybe you had that answer but you forgot about the answer, go back to the answer, look for it. And you forgot about the answer. Like, wait, why am I in this? Like, what am I doing? Right? Exactly. Like, what? And so you're able to go back and be like, oh, this is why. And sometimes when you reframe that framework in your head, sometimes you might get lucky and get a little motivation. Sometimes. And that motivation helps you move forward and to wake up the next day and be like, no, I'm in this again. But just understand that it's a journey, and that journey is not linear. It's a beautiful ride. It's a beautiful roller coaster. It's a beautiful mountain. That's worth pursuing, because we go back to the basis. I think, and I know in my heart, we're all meant to create. We're all meant to. We are creative human beings by design. So don't ever not look at yourself as somebody who's not creative. I think that we have a beauty inside of us and a potential inside of us to do some pretty cool things. And I think that when you're able to express yourself for something that feels true to you, there's nothing or anybody around you that's going to be able to take that away from you. And that's creating a life worth living for. That's creating art in the most purest and most genuine and authentic way possible. I think that content creators sometimes live in alternate realities. Those realities might be blinded by media. They might be blinded by other famous or successful content creators. But one of the biggest things that I've learned in the high performance realm as an Olympic athlete, as a creator myself, in this life that I've lived, is the power of being present. And the power of being present is being able to take this phrase that I use and I need to remember almost every single day, and that is, to be present is to be powerful. And that's what I live by. To be present is to be powerful, because when you're present, the power that you have to change today for tomorrow to be better is greater than your mind being in the future and not where you're at today, where the real change happens. And so when you're present, you're powerful. And to be powerful is to be present, because you're aware of the things that are around you. You are not fixated on what you don't have. And I'm preaching to myself right now. You're not fixated on what you don't have. You're not fixated on somebody else. You're focused and you're thankful and you're grateful for who you are and where you're at today. You might not be where you want to be, but you still have yourself. You still have the tools. You still have the most beautiful tool possible in the world and in life and in the universe when it comes to creating content, and that's yourself. And when you're present in that realization, you'll start seeing things that are essential for your journey to move forward. But if you're in somewhere else that's not the present, you're distracted by realities that aren't even yours or might not even exist, because they're not going to exist if you don't do something about them today. And so that mindset is an important realization to have when it comes to creating anything worthwhile, beautiful, of achieving and pursuing. And that's my advice to people: is be as present as possible, love others, and understand that you are created to create. You're created to be. And when you're able to realize that, I don't think anything else matters when it comes to what you have or what you don't have, as long as you have yourself and growing into who you want to be for those around you. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of either being at the top of the mountain or at the bottom of the mountain. You have yourself, and I encourage people to take a look at themselves that way, because there's many people at the top that they forgot who they were. They forgot a lot of things, and there's many people at the bottom that don't remember who they were, and they don't believe in themselves enough. And so being present is powerful, and that's my for your listeners. Absolutely. What your listeners can do, actually, those who are listening through YouTube or your podcast, leave a comment down. Leave a comment down in your videos, and just say, "Hey, I would love to chat with you, Charles," or "Hey, I would love to speak more with you," and I'll be there, right under there, and we can exchange contact information, and we'll go from there. That's super personable, and that shows me that people are really interested in wanting to talk and being able to want to connect. And so I'll look out for those comments on your social media, and in the future, I definitely will have more resources for people to follow. But right now, in this journey that I'm on, I'm in a position where I'm more about being on that one-on-one basis, where people really look out for me and search for me because they mean it, rather than being like, "Oh, I want to work with you," or "I want to hear from you," and they never follow up. And so for me, it's just more about people commenting on your stuff, and being able to promote your videos and promote these videos. And when the time comes and I go and take a look at all that stuff, I would love to connect with you and through those comments, and we can go from there. If there's people that want to connect with me, please connect with you, and we'll talk over email, and you can always send those people over to me. That would be a great. But I really appreciate it, and you have something really valuable going on here, and I'm honored to be on this podcast. Absolutely. You can always find me on LinkedIn too, at Charles Fernandez. There's my headshot. There's an Olympic medal. You can always look me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message there if you want to connect with me. I'm more than happy to talk with you through there. But thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, of course.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Journey, the podcast for content creators. If today's episode sparked ideas, subscribe and leave a review. Share it with a fellow creator who might benefit. Check the show notes for links and resources. If you'd like to support the show, buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq. Follow us on social media to stay connected. Until next time, keep creating and seeking wisdom in your journey.